I'm sorry, but Namekians are just more interesting these days. About time they were. Hey folks, MasakoX here. Well, things have certainly changed for the better when it comes to these peoples, haven't they? Namekians, the other big clan of the Dragon world that has actually quite a big fan base amongst the community of Dragon Ball. Not that long ago, we made a video titled No Namekians, No Dragon Ball, and we meant it. Without these characters to add their zenith to the table, as well as their history from what we've known so far, the show wouldn't be the same, since Dragon Balls would be nowhere near as mystical or interesting or even existical. Yes, that's a word. It's also funny to say. Existical. Well, when we were writing said Namekian guide a while back, we were not aware that it would need to be updated so quickly. Just a couple of weeks later, in the manga, something big happened to the Namekian fandom and the lore that we've already grown accustomed to for so many decades. At least some of the more recent revelations from the Dragon Ball Super manga and chapter of said tome connect nicely to the stuff that we've been trying to tell you for quite some time now. Here, I'm not joking, here's the proof. This cataclysm occurred in age 261, so there might be some spacefaring Namekians out there, albeit they're probably quite ancient by now, and most likely scattered so far away from their homeworld that they assume it's completely desolate and destroyed. They may have just settled somewhere else and have their own clans. We don't really know. So yeah, we really genuinely didn't expect all of this to have been resolved so quickly. Now, before you say anything, we're not saying for 1 second that what we said influenced Toyotaro or Toriyama whatsoever. This has quite clearly been planned for a very long time. Months, years even. Probably this is something that Toyotaro has been wanting to say to his master for a while, but has only now plucked up the courage to actually say, why don't we give this a go? But nevertheless, this is a really big coincidence, and goes to show the showrunners are now starting to align their thoughts and brainstorms to the fan consensus, instead of butting heads against them. Neat! Not only do we know that there are indeed Namekians on other worlds thanks to Monaito's existence, by the way, his pun name is Ammonite, but we also got a pretty good hint that their origin may lie outside of Universe 7. Yeah, Namek wasn't their original homeworld seemingly. It's only their most recent homeworld. But where did they come from exactly? That's still a little bit up in the air because we're not quite sure, but the most logical choice at the moment seems to be Universe 6. Yeah, the Universe 6 Namekians may be the original ones, and perhaps maybe a small group of them traverse the stars and realities to the neighbouring universe thanks to the tools and history and knowledge bestowed upon them by their history of Zalama, considered to be the first Namekian, the one from all Namekians are born from. But wait, this is all conjecture. But the very fact that we can conjecture at all with such limited information gives us reasonable certainty that this is very positive news and showing that we might be going in the right direction. We've seen that there is quite a substantial population of Namekians on the Universe 6 Namek in Champa's domain. They're far more settled in, they're thriving quite well, unlike the very minuscule population in Universe 7, probably even before the Cataclysm. So, stands to reason that Universe 6 may have been the original stomping grounds. But having said that, seeing how these two universes are twins and are meant to have corresponding planets, we feel that the truth may lay beyond both of these realms, the realms of mortal beings even. Perhaps neither universe is the true original home world of Namekians. Maybe somewhere else, another plane of existence. On a side note though, we just noticed whilst researching this video that Piccolo here has never worn trousers, even though we always thought he did. He's gone the full napper, and it's now impossible for us to unsee it. Hey Sal now! Are we there yet? Now, I bet that some of you out there are now rolling your eyes and are going, oh goody, Mars and Hav are talking about Zalama again. Okay everybody, prepare your tinfoil hats. Well, to you I say, hear us out please, because all of this is in keeping with the lore that has been supplied to us from the creators. We are keeping ourselves though relatively grounded, so just sit back and relax. Okay, in our original Zalama video back in 2018, and before the sound quality here leapt up, thankfully, we hinted that, believe it or not, there are some links between dragons and slug snails in the culture of Namekians. When Hav and I were talking about Namekians for our podcast Up on the Lookout, I had been led to believe that usually and typically, Namekians' names were all derived exclusively from musical instruments. I was wrong. Only the children of King Piccolo went exclusively down that route of nomenclature definitively. Most of the green peeps are likely to be based around slugs and mollusks, Esker from the Moro Saga, and most notably Lou Carcol, a mythical beast from French folklore, which is essentially a snail, serpent, dragon thing, and was one of the main inspirations for the Pokemon Gumi, and of course his evolutionary line, Sliggoo and Goodra. Can't get over how cute Goodra is. But we didn't mention prior to this video the possibility of another potential source of inspiration for Namekians, and it all stems from a much closer to home source. In Japanese folklore, a yokai called Shusebora, also known as an ascended trumpet shell. Yes, I know, you hear trumpet and just go, yeah, see? Music's still associated with it, Masako! But wait, hold your space horses. And your trumpets. Shusebora is basically a trumpet shell snail that lives for 1,000 years in the mountains, 1,000 years on the plains, and 1,000 years at sea. Only then, after all that, will it ascend into a dragon. Namekians can also live long, and in quite a sedate fashion too, with little need for going so fast-paced. Monaito on Planet Cereal is at least 500 years old, and Guru is probably of a similar age. The association with said snail actually works very well with the Namekians being a generally long-lived race, and in good form too. If you want to actually go a step further, it's a nice little parallel with Saiyans, given how Saiyans and Namekians seem to be entwined. Saiyans live a high-octane life, and then burn out within 80 years or so. Namekians, they go slow, and can live for at least half a millennia seemingly, maybe even longer. We have yet to see the oldest Namekian ever. But going back to their origins though, and the nod to music and mollusks, that's not only a nice coincidence due to both being a snail and a dragon, but also its name is connected to musical instruments, which in turn is a nod to the original King Piccolo. It all fits together. Coincidence? Most likely. But we know that Toriyama is someone who would create story threads out of coincidences. Another factor going into this sudden pivot towards Namek in this story is that both Toriyama and Toyotaro are, deep down, big fans of Piccolo and Namekians in general. Toriyama has actually gone on record many times saying that he really likes Piccolo and his father. This quote coming from Daizenshuu 2. I guess I like Piccolo the most after all. Out of all the enemies, Demon King Piccolo is the one I like most. And even after that, I like Piccolo the most. I like Piccolo about the same as I like Goku. And considering that his pupil is equally as enamored with the peoples and Piccolo, it would be feasible that when given the opportunity to do so, you know, when there's less pressure to stick to the norms and trends, that they would like to give some love to these people whenever they can. Granted, Goku and Saiyans are the most popular parts of Dragon Ball. You know, the money says so. But now we're going into a new arc, and even in the Moro arc somewhat actually, we are starting to see this pair really doubling down on the Namekian passion, as there are so many blanks and mysteries about their history being filled up, and could easily be added to, and drastically enhancing their overall story, and the story of Dragon Ball itself. It's a snowball effect. You can tell these two are really enjoying this chance to enrich Namekians just by these latest chapters, and in turn, we're enjoying the manga. Another big revelation that we've learned is that the size and number of Dragon Balls is not fixed. We already knew that the balls could vary in size since the Namekian orbs are bigger than the Earth ones and the Super Dragon Balls are, you know, the size of planets. Now that we know the number of these balls can be different too, this opens up many other different avenues of thought. Fun fact by the way, the Dragon Balls themselves were inspired by the old Japanese novel Nanso Satomi Hankenden, where, in short, there is a love story with a woman and a wolf, and 8 magical orbs then come to fruition. And really, you should read up more about this in your own time than just listening to me and this very, very short and truncated synopsis. In any case, the important part of this tangent is that Toriyama stated that he didn't want to exactly copy the number of Dragon Balls in his tome to have 8 as well as Hakendens. He made it 7 balls instead, you know, just -1. So maybe, if we find more Namekians in Universe 7 and 6, Toriyama might make it so that one dragon is summoned with 8 balls after all. You know, getting rid of that little chestnut. But this is all just speculation. Perhaps 7 is the most you can actually produce, being the most optimal amount, and it seems in Namekian lore to be a divine number, as it repeats Zalama's act of creating Super Dragon Balls, there being 7 of them. We do know, however, that it is possible to have as little as 2, just a pair. Even with that minute number in comparison to other dragons, having only 2 is still enough to be able to summon a dragon albeit visibly smaller than the likes of Porunga or even Shenron. It's quite obvious that it's smaller as the coils and swirls are less numerous than Shenron's, and he doesn't look as tall as beefy as Porunga, the home team. And what is the name of this cerulean dragon? Well, it's not stated overtly, but you can glean it from the manga. We believe it to be Torombo. How can we be so sure of this? Well, it's because that's how the fanbase thinks at the moment the dragon is named Torombo, by reverse engineering the summoning password that Granolah says. And it's pretty similar to the one that was used to bring forth Porunga. You gotta love the wisdom of crowds sometimes, as I am actually really cool with this idea. This is probably derived from, obviously, the musical instrument, the trombone. And again, it's very logical and very in keeping with the lore that we actually know. Please note though, this is still fan speculation for the moment, so we cannot be so sure. But it is in keeping, and I don't really see any objection to it. I would believe it. It does carry on with the theme of snails and musical instruments, so I will not dismiss it. So when it comes to the appearance of Torombo, we're going to roll with that name for now, until we've actually been proved otherwise. It also looks more distinctive than the other dragons. It seems to be more amphibian in appearance, most notably having some traits of axolotls. And axolotls are just so cute. And when it comes to reptiles, sea iguanas. Again, I must say that this came about from the comments section from the Chapter 69 review as well, so once again, big up to the wisdom of crowds is very prominent here, and I would believe it to be true, or at least making sense, so good job folks! Like we've mentioned before, it is considerably smaller than Shenron, and especially Porunga, and in the world of the dragons, that usually also means that power would be smaller too than its counterparts. GT sticks to that lore as well. Black Star and Black Smoke Shenrons work with this notion, in that they are massive, and their powers are equally massive, as well as being quite destructive. Black Star Shenron, wishes easily granted, anything, and also linked to blowing up planets. Black Smoke Shenron, shadow dragons. Need I say more? Size matters with dragons. Porunga is, at least initially before convenience took a foothold, more powerful than Shenron, and could have more of a scope when it comes to what you want to wish on it. And then in turn, Super Shenron is ultimately infinitely more powerful than those two. He can basically do anything, which to us hints that Granolah won't get his wish that easily. It's alluding to this chestnut in that chapter ends with the wish being asked, but you don't see Granolah powering up. Why? Possibly in the next chapter, chapter 70, it will lead to Torombo saying that he cannot make this wish happen because he's not powerful enough, and instead, Granolah will ask for another, more realistic wish. Perhaps a Cerulean could be put in touch with the strongest fighter in Universe 7 and train with them. Goku, who is a Saiyan. Ooh, this in turn would create potentially narrative fireworks. Still though, all of these brand new story beats that have been unveiled to us, they all felt kind of obvious once you boil it down and look at it all from another angle. You just go, of course it all makes sense. Because if you can have Dragon Clan Namekians living on other planets quite harmoniously, surely you would most likely make your own set of Dragon Balls to make lives easier, right? So long as they're kept a secret or used wisely by noble warriors, Namekian tribes could survive with maybe just occasional help from a dragon. And now, we are reminded also that the original intention of Dragon Balls was to be a prize for the best and most intrepid warriors of each particular species that they happen to be living on the planet of. So, it's meant to be a reward, not just a convenience and tool. Okay. So what is this all telling us exactly? Well, Toriyama clearly is not done with Namekians, and Toyotaro is probably fueling that fire, perhaps to indulge his own curiosity, and want to improve the lore of the show, by not just including Saiyans all the time. And we believe that we might get some more backstory on them along the line. This isn't just a flash in the pan thing, there's going to be more. After all, King Piccolo was the first big bad of the classical format that we know today, and it would be a really nice tribute to get more out of them before Toriyama retires for good, eventually, because it will happen. Maybe even Piccolo himself will end up getting some more of a spotlight. So, did this rekindle our old hopes of seeing Zalama at some point in the main show? You bet it did. There have been many times up to now when Dragon Ball stopped being about, well, the Dragon Balls. It was becoming more about fighting exclusively, and these orbs were being relegated to just being tools for the characters to use whenever they wanted. It's nice to see them return in a way which is more meaningful, entwined with the narrative. The Dragon Balls, at the moment, are incredibly vital to Super, the Super Dragon Balls. Now we see a third set of main timeline vassals, which are totally different to anything that we've seen before. Dragon Balls are, once again, more than just trinkets. They are linked with the story. We feel that Monaito and the Cerulean Namekians might be the first of maybe a few groups that we'll encounter further down the line of the story, and we are excited to see more dragon lore expanded. After all, we know how Toyotaro loves the scaly reptiles, and he might be the one influencing his master to include some more lore. This isn't done. Maybe one day we'll go and see the Dragon Realm, the home of the dragons itself, just like we did in AF. Arguably, that was one of the better ideas that Toyotaro, had back in his fan manga days. To sum it up, our lore tinfoil hats are indeed back on again, as we are waiting for more Namekian info, which now seems certain to be dropping in the not too distant future. We don't expect to get so more soon though, in the short term. What we've been given at the moment will be left for us to stew on a while, but at the end of the day, we're actually kind of used to it. But we hope that Gramps will be okay though, and that Granola's deceit won't lead to him dying of a broken heart. Then there's no Cerulean Dragon Balls at all. It was alluded to. So what do you folks think? Do you like what's going on with the Namekian lore here? Do you feel that Dragon Ball Super is becoming more and more distinctive? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!